2 million years ago, survival was not a choice, but a constant, waking battle against the wild. Innovation was born from necessity. A simple stone became the edge between life and death. Every scent in the wind told a story of danger or opportunity.
Speed was his only defense in a world of giants.
The hunter often became the hunted in the blink of an eye. With tools, he began to reshape the world around him, and water was scarce, and every sip was a calculated risk. In the reflection, a new kind of consciousness was awakening. The nights were long, and the cold was a silent predator. High-calorie rewards required high-risk maneuvers. His ancestors lived in the canopy. He was still a master of the heights.
A rare moment of sweetness in a brutal existence.
But the wild never lets its guard down for long.
Invisibility was his most valuable tool. He was no longer just a gatherer. He was becoming a defender. Social bonds were the secret to the species' endurance. Trust was a new and dangerous experiment.
Scavenging provided the protein that fueled a growing brain.
The tool allowed him to access food other animals couldn't. Every meal was a race against time and competitors.
Take what you can and get to safety.
He had survived another day on the edge of extinction.
This was the beginning of the human story. As the climate shifted, the lifelines of the early humans began to vanish, driving a desperate need for resources. The soil, once moist and fertile, now crumbles, a silent harbinger of the ecological collapse to come. Competition patterns emerge across all species. In the fight for water, there are no allies, only rivals. Day after day, he returns, witnessing the slow death of his only water source as the sun burns. Limited resources increase the probability of dangerous encounters. The presence of others is now a direct threat. Survival instincts sharpen. Every shadow becomes a potential thief of the life-giving liquid remaining in the silt. The liquid transition to solid earth accelerates. Hope is drying up as fast as the water itself. Camouflage is not just for hunting. It is for hiding from those just as desperate as he is. The carcasses of the weak serve as a grim reminder of what happens when the migration fails. The sun is an adversary now, a relentless force extracting every last drop of moisture from the world. Driven by instinct, he searches beneath the surface, hoping the earth still holds a secret reserve. Sound travels far in the silence of the wasteland. Every snap of a twig is a potential conflict. The inevitable has arrived. The source is dead. This location no longer sustains life. The scarcity of one place forces the movement toward another.
where others surely wait. Hunger and thirst are twins in this era, both gnawing at the resolve of the early man.
Evidence of others is a warning sign. The density of humans around remaining resources is reaching a breaking point. Every microscopic drop is fought for. Survival is measured in milliliters.
Frustration boils over. The environmental pressure is molding the human psyche toward aggression.
The migration has begun. To stay is to die. To move is to risk conflict.
Time is measured not in years, but in the depletion of the landscape and the scars on the skin.
The collapse is total. Even the creatures of the air fall before the drought.
The nights bring cold, but no rain. The cycle of the stars offers no relief from the heat of the day.
Decisions are made. He must leave the only home he has known, in search of the horizon.
The era of the resource wars has begun. Man moves forward, driven by the most basic need of all, to live. In the silence of the Pleistocene, survival begins with the ears. Every rustle is a potential death sentence. Recognition triggers a primal response, friend or foe. The brain calculates the risk of the unknown. Before language, the body spoke out. A lowered frame signals a readiness to fight or flee. Avoidance is the primary strategy. Two tribes sharing the horizon, yet maintaining a careful, lethal distance.
The geography of the hunt becomes the geography of hiding.
Conflict is avoided for today, but the memory of the encounter remains etched in the psyche. The cycle continues. Isolation is safety, but connection is the future of the species.
The groups stand at a deadlock, the river a thin line between peace and primal violence.
Every breath is a struggle against the rising tide of adrenaline and ancient fear. A single step forward evaluates the risk, testing the resolve of the unknown enemy. The ritual of posturing begins, a dance of dominance without the need for blood. Eyes locked, they search for any sign of weakness or impending assault. The display of aggression is a calculated survival strategy used to avoid physical conflict. The tension begins to fracture as the first signs of retreat appear in the distance. His biological stress response is at its peak, preparing the body for a fight or flight.
Hyper-awareness ensures that no sudden movement from the rival group goes unnoticed. Stability is life. On these slippery stones, a fall could mean instant death. Silence becomes a weapon, testing the psychological endurance of the opposing group.
The early mind calculates the odds, weighing the cost of injury against the need for territory.
Physical readiness is a deterrent. A display of strength often prevents its actual use.
The retreat of the rivals signals a victory for survival without the cost of a fight.
As the threat diminishes, the body begins to transition out of its high-stress state.
The release of tension is palpable. The threshold of conflict has been passed safely. Avoidance reduces the risk of injury, ensuring the genetic line continues for another day. A leader returns, his presence having secured the safety of his kin through restraint. Vigilance remains, for the prehistoric world never truly sleeps.
Recovery is essential. The energy spent in the standoff must now be conserved. Past wounds are reminders that conflict always carries a permanent price.
In the quiet after the storm, the primitive mind finds a brief moment of peace. The sun sets on a world where cooperation and avoidance are as vital as the hunt. Another day survived. The threshold of conflict remains a boundary between life and death. Driven by a changing climate, he begins a journey into the unknown, a migration essential for the survival of his species. Exploration yields its first reward. In the heart of the arid wilderness, he finds the lifeblood of the new territory. Safety is found in the heights. He calculates the risks, choosing a vantage point that will become his new home.
Repetition breeds familiarity. Every step carves a path through the wilderness, turning an alien landscape into a known world.
Adaptation is not just movement. It is the manipulation of the world through the first primitive technologies. He learns the rhythms of the sky, predicting the arrival of the rains that will transform the plains. The hunter emerges. By reading the ground, he connects with the ecosystem on a profound level.
Diversity in diet ensures resilience. Every new plant discovered is a victory against starvation.
The concept of home begins to take shape, a barrier between himself and the dangers of the night. His body evolves alongside his mind. Bipedalism offers the endurance to outlast any predator.
Innovation is a constant process. Each flake removed from the stone is a step toward dominance. Social bonds are the ultimate survival tool. He seeks others to share the burden of existence.
Scavenging provides the high-protein fuel necessary for a growing, complex brain.
The tool becomes an extension of himself, allowing him to access resources his teeth cannot.
In the quiet moments, the spark of curiosity flickers. He begins to wonder about the world beyond. Water is both a resource and a barrier. Overcoming it expands his reach across the continent.
Fear is an ancient teacher. It keeps him sharp, ensuring that only the most alert survive.
Every narrow escape reinforces the lessons of the land. He is becoming its master. The transfer of knowledge begins. Culture is the ultimate survival strategy for humanity.
Nature is indifferent. The resilient must endure the harshest trials to see the next dawn.
By following the herds, he taps into the ancient rhythm of the earth itself. With every sunrise, he is no longer just a primitive creature. but the ancestor of worlds. The journey is far from over, but the foundations of human survival are now firmly set. This is the dawn of the human story, a story of adaptation, survival, and eventual mastery.
Spatial memory allows the early human to recognize familiar paths, reducing cognitive load during travel. Environmental cues like distinct rock formations serve as vital landmarks for prehistoric navigation.
Confidence in movement suggests the formation of a sophisticated internal cognitive map of the landscape. Learned behavior reduces the perceived risk of the wild, allowing for more efficient resource gathering. As fear subsides, the individual moves with greater fluid grace through the dangerous prehistoric world. Familiarity with the terrain directly correlates to a lower risk of accidental predator encounters.
The psychological shift from prey to inhabitant marks a turning point in human evolution.
Mastery over the physical landscape is a hallmark of successful learned behavior in early hominids. The vastness of the world no longer overwhelms the mind once the paths are known. Silent movement is a learned skill that significantly reduces the risk of conflict with megafauna. Reduced cortisol levels allow for basic needs to be met with less environmental stress. Long-distance navigation becomes possible through the accumulation of environmental knowledge over time. A rhythmic pace indicates a lack of immediate threat and high spatial confidence.
By choosing known paths, early humans avoided the high-risk zones of unknown territories.
Every scar is a lesson learned, contributing to the survival of the individual and species. Curiosity flourishes when the immediate need for survival through flight is minimized. Dominance over a territory begins with the confidence to walk it without fear. The transition from a flight response to a focused gaze is a major cognitive shift. Rest is a luxury afforded only to those who understand their environment's dangers. Complex navigation is the pinnacle of early human learned environmental behavior. Determination replaces fear as the primary driver for exploration and movement.
Avoiding minor impacts. Avoiding minor environmental hazards prevents injuries that could be fatal in the prehistoric.
With every journey, the early human expands the boundaries of his known world. Safety is not just a place, but a state of mind, achieved through knowledge. Driven by a deep genetic memory, he returns to the ancient water source, tracing the migration paths of his ancestors. The group has moved on. Mobility was the key to survival, yet it leaves the individual vulnerable and alone. In this world, the only constant is change. The wind carries the scent of a shifting climate and a disappearing era. He moves with a quiet grace, a product of thousands of years of adaptation to a silent, watchful terrain.
Conflict is temporary, but the land is eternal.
In the end, we are but a small part of a larger story, shaped by the very world we seek to conquer.